8. Auni Train Graveyard. The Train Graveyard is a popular tourist attraction located near the town of Auni in southwestern Bolivia. It's also known as the Auni Train Cemetery. The site is home to a collection of old, rusted locomotives and train cars that have been abandoned and left to decay over time. The train graveyard is a result of Bolivia's once thriving mining industry. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Auni served as a hub for transporting minerals, particularly tin, from the surrounding mines. The mines at Auni were particularly busy during the World War years, with tin being a desired resource for things such as weapons and various armaments. However, when World War II ended, the mining industry in Bolivia went into decline, and lots of the mines had been completely exhausted of resources. This led to many trains and rail equipment becoming obsolete, leading to their abandonment in the Auni area in the salt flats. Today, the train graveyard has become a popular tourist destination due to its unique and eerie atmosphere. Visitors can explore the area, climb on the train cars, and take photographs of the rusted remnants of Bolivia's industrial past. The site's not managed though, so visitors are still reminded to be careful when they're exploring. The location's desolate surroundings, with the vast salt flats of the Salar de Uyuni nearby, add to its distinctive appeal. There's even a hotel nearby that's completely made of salt blocks. 7. A quarry of World War II cars. In an old quarry in France, Belgian photographer and PE teacher Vincent Michel discovered a massive amount of World War II era cars. Inside one of the mined-out shafts of the quarry were rows upon rows of cars parked neatly. The rows of cars stretched for what seemed like an eternity through the tunnel. Unfortunately, the cars weren't salvageable, as they'd been rusting away for so long they were practically locked in place. Though, it did appear as though some of the cars had been salvaged for their parts at one time. But why were all these abandoned cars here in the first place? The answer lies in when they were left. In World War II, France was quickly occupied by German forces, and so many of the people living near to the quarry decided to stash their vehicles away there in order to stop them from being taken and requisitioned by the enemy. There are some more modern cars here though, although by modern we mean early 1960s vehicles. These were left here by the quarry's owner, and the blue paint of a 1960 Opel Capitan is still visible on the vintage car's chassis. Among this treasure trove of automobiles are makers such as Citroëns, Peugeots and Renaults, representing the very best in French automotive manufacturing. Since the discovery, some of the cars were successfully moved to go to auction, but this was only a handful. The vast majority still remain where they were parked over 80 years ago. 6. 1957 Ford Fairlane. In 2005, a couple traveled to visit their daughter, who was living and working on a ranch owned by an elderly gentleman in Colorado. There was a barn on the property that was filled with all kinds of old farming equipment, such as tractors and plows. The man's daughter was excited to show him one of the vehicles. Towards the back of the barn was a car covered with tarp, and immediately he could see from the white paneling that it was a 1950s automobile. After pulling back the tarp, they could see it in its full majesty. A two-tone green 1957 Ford Fairlane. The car was in excellent condition. The Ford was fully intact, including the wheel covers. It had a Thunderbird special engine with a 4-barrel car, dual exhaust, and a 3-speed manual transmission. The interior, adorned with a beautiful two-tone green color, was stunning. There were no rips or tears, and the seats were protected by covers installed by the dealership. Although the trim needed a bit of polishing, it was all present and in great shape. The odometer displayed 43,000 miles, and the car was operational, occasionally being moved around inside the barn. Intrigued as to why such a beauty of a car was left in a barn, they decided to get the full story from the owner. The old man told them that a close friend bought the car brand new while serving in the military and stationed in Florida. The car remained in Florida until the original owner passed away. The late owner's wife then decided that her husband's good friend should inherit the car. It's unclear whether the current owner purchased the car from the widow or received it as a gift, but it was relocated to Colorado in the late 80s or early 90s. Since then, it's been stored in the barn. The man let one of his friends, who was a 1950s and 1960s car enthusiast, know about the find and put him in contact with the owner to see if he would sell it. However, negotiations didn't go anywhere as the old man couldn't make up his mind as to whether he wished to sell. To this day, it's likely that the car remains in the barn, unsold and still under the tarp. What would you do if you inherited a car such as this one? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. 5. The Atlas Hovercraft. In Green Cove Springs, Florida, there's an abandoned husk of a hovercraft. Spanning 125 feet in length, it's not exactly small. Explorers have taken pictures of a large, eerily empty interior, with no signs of furniture or fixing ever having been installed. So, who built it, and why is it here? Construction began on the hovercraft in 2005, thanks to a company known as Atlas Hovercraft Inc. The company's aim was to create a fleet of hovercrafts in order to ferry passengers across the St. Johns River and other waterways within the state. The engineer in charge of the $10 million hovercraft project was Kurt Peterson. Kurt claimed to build on the 100 years of innovation of air cushion vehicles, with advanced features that would mitigate some of the drawbacks. Drawbacks such as high noise, low maneuverability, and high operating costs that had plagued other commercial hovercraft projects in the past. The aim of Atlas was to get a port for the hovercrafts up and running in Palatka by the spring of 2007, but this never happened. However, if you asked any of the engineers and government officials who'd been given a first look at the project, they would have likely been able to tell you why. Many of them doubted that anyone working on the project had any engineering knowledge at all, as the hovercraft was being constructed not in a controlled environment, but rather while being left open to the elements. The project then appeared to go quiet, but a social media message from Peterson in April 2008 read, "Hello, I'm still here and as busy as ever." He then went on to let people know what progress had been made on the craft, which went by the project name AH100P, saying that it was in the home stretch and that the exterior was being readied for paint and windows and doors were ready to be installed. This was the last message from Peterson, and in 2011, confirmation from an ex-Atlas employee led to the news that the company was no longer in operation and has in fact closed its doors to employees due to a lack of funds back in May 2008, just 1 month after Peterson's positive message on the project's progress. As a result, the hovercraft was left abandoned where it had been set to be constructed, with only a completed fiberglass hull to show for the company's vision. 4. The helicopter in Aburi Botanical Gardens. In the Aburi Botanical Gardens in Ghana, visitors can see many colorful plants and displays. One in particular stands out. It's a bit stranger than the rest, an abandoned helicopter. If you were thinking that the helicopter crash-landed here or was a casualty in a war or conflict, you'd be wrong. Instead, the helicopter is remarkable for a completely different reason. The helicopter was actually one of the very first in Ghana and was gifted to the country by none other than Queen Elizabeth II. The chopper saw active use within the country before being retired when it grew too old to be usable. Instead of scrapping this piece of history, it was placed in the Aburi Botanical Gardens. Tourists and visitors can explore the chassis and take pictures with the craft, with it being a popular place for children to play. 3. The Sham Rockaway. Over the years, people have come up with innovative ways to create RVs and motorhomes to be able to live a life on the open road. But there's one creation that stands out among all the rest, mainly because it was made out of two 1962 Buick wagons. It was built by J. Dennis McGuire. McGuire had carried out a few creative projects before, such as creating a few bespoke RVs out of buses. But his true passion project was the RV that became known as the Sham Rockaway. He started the project after retiring, and it took him until he was 69 to complete it. Many people would question why McGuire would take on such a crazy task, but according to his daughter Colleen, he would always respond with, "Why not?" McGuire had always had a love for Buicks, and this is likely why he chose them as the base of his creation. It drove on the third axle, and thanks to its massive size of 9,910 pounds and its length, the turning circle would have been pretty shocking. We're not sure how fast it would have been able to go either, as it was only propelled by a Dynaflow transmission and 401 cubic inch V8 engine. Despite this, the Sham Rockaway took Maguire and his wife away on many adventures across the country, including through Pennsylvania and Arizona, drawing many strange looks wherever they went. However, when Maguire passed away in 1990, the Sham Rockaway was put up for sale and then eventually abandoned, but it appears to have recently been bought from a wrecking yard. So, who knows if we'll see it back on the road sometime in the future. 2. Blackpool Tram Graveyard. Near the docks area in Fleetwood Haven near Blackpool in Lancashire, UK, is a treasure trove of abandoned trams. These colourful cars stretch back across many decades, all with colourfully painted exteriors that would have originally delighted tourists heading to the famous seaside resort. Some have monkeys and other animals painted on them in order to advertise the local zoo, while others are in the bright yellow of the metro system. Although the outside of the vehicles is still vibrant despite the encroaching rust, the interiors of the trams are less than pretty, with some urban explorers even describing them as being chaotic. The seats were ripped up, and in some cases taken away from their fixings and just placed in the haphazard piles inside. Some things had even started to go mouldy after not being looked after for years. The trams are situated on private land owned by the Fleetwood Heritage Leisure Trust, which aims to rehome the vehicles. However, many have not moved for decades, and some locals worry that the beloved colourful trams will simply be left to rust away. Despite this, the occasional urban explorer will still go and document the tram cars from time to time, providing a snapshot of the resort's history. Although there are still trams running in Blackpool, which was one of the first places to have an electrified tramway in the world, these days they're a shadow of the joyful chassis of the past. 1. The TSS Duke of Lancaster. The TSS Turbo Steamship Duke of Lancaster is a former passenger ship that was built in 1955 by Harland and Wolff Shipyard in Belfast, Northern Ireland. It was initially named the Duke of Lancaster, after the title held by Queen Elizabeth II in her capacity as the Duke of Lancaster. The ship was intended for the London, Midland and Scottish Railway Company, LMS, and operated as a passenger and car ferry. The Duke of Lancaster was known for its unique exterior design, featuring a striking red and white paint scheme. It had a capacity to carry both passengers and vehicles on its journeys across the Irish Sea. The ship provided transportation services for over a decade before it was taken out of service in 1978. After being decommissioned, the vessel went through various owners and purposes. Nicknamed the Fun Ship, it operated as a bar and casino for a good number of years, drawing anger from local residents thanks to the rowdy nature on board. The business venture closed in 2004, and the ship was once again abandoned. Over time, the Duke of Lancaster gained a reputation for its unique appearance and became a subject of curiosity and urban exploration. In 2012, the TSS Duke of Lancaster got an unusual facelift. Graffiti artists from all over Europe were invited to come and paint the ship's hull with colourful images and designs, turning it into a massive open-air art gallery. Sadly though, in 2017, the fun was finally over, and the ship was completely painted over in black, a state in which it remains to this day. Thanks for watching. Which entry did you think was the strangest vehicle on our list? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating videos. See you next time. Bye.